Coming to you live from the Now Media Newsroom.
Ravi Parmar coming out there saying there's no pipeline project, just a $14 million PR. So they're ramping up the PR attacks here on Danielle Smith. But you got to listen to this. David Eby, like he's been in front of the microphone a little bit there, but he's just unhinged in this rant here. Let's listen in on Mr. Eby.
A significant piece of the BC economy, a significant aspect of the social license we have to deliver major projects like that and projects that are coming is the support of communities up and down our amazing coast here in British Columbia. And so if you want to put that goodwill at risk, if you want to threaten these projects and say, you know, we know that your goodwill and your support is dependent on a tanker ban, that the fishing grounds that you count on, the tourism you count on, the lifestyle that you enjoy as a coastal community member, that it's protected by the tanker ban. If we want to say we're going to get rid of that tanker ban and we're going to go after your way of life, let's at least make sure that the conversation is about a real project. Right now, the province of BC, the Premier of BC, is not a threat to the pipeline project of the Premier of Alberta because there is no pipeline project. There is a public relations department. There is a Crown Corporation with $14 million. The only way currently that project is going forward is with tens of billions of dollars of public money. And if this is in fact another multi-billion dollar federally funded Alberta project, then where is the multi-billion dollar federally funded project in British Columbia? That is the question that I'm asking. And what is the opportunity cost of a multi-billion dollar taxpayer-funded Alberta project compared to what we can deliver here in BC, what we can deliver in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Quebec, the Maritimes, Newfoundland, the Territories? You show those premiers the opportunity to spend tens of billions of federal tax dollars, and what can they deliver? Give everybody a fair shot. It's not the Danielle Smith show, it's the Canadian team. And we all deserve the same opportunity for the same federal funding for our projects as she does for hers. That's not un-Canadian. That is fair. And there is nothing more Canadian than fairness. That is a core national value.
Fuming. I would love to see that. I'd love to get AI to convert that into German, so we could hear him say that in German. I think it would be quite interesting.
That's the most passion I've heard out of David Eby.
I mean, it was more than that. It was the whole press conference. Yeah. He was absolutely losing it. He was blowing his top, as they say. He was furious. It was actually quite entertaining, I have to say. Even though, like, he's arguing against a straw man, as he does a lot, actually, David Eby. That seems to be his preferred technique for arguing against things. He just argues against something he just misses the point on purpose and argues against something that isn't reality. So in this whole thing, he was saying it's going to take taxpayers' money, and this project's not real, it doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like just totally ignoring the fact that the reason that the project isn't real, as he says, is because of his support and other people's support of laws that make it basically impossible to build this kind of thing. That's the most important context. Why would a private company come forward and say, all right, here's $20 billion for a pipeline that is impossible to build? Yeah. Because of federal rules, federal laws. Obviously, that's like the most important piece of information. But David Eby was just arguing. He was arguing in a different world where that wasn't the case. And then somebody at the end asked him, one of the reporters was like, sorry, can you just confirm? So you are against this pipeline explicitly, and you are against rescinding removing the ban on tankers on the North Coast. And then he was kind of like offended by that. He was like, well, gee, I thought I was being clear. But it's like, you're not being clear because you're arguing against something else. He's arguing as if we live in a world where it's just, there's no point in a private company trying to pump oil to the BC coast and export it. Like, that's just not viable. That's not the truth. That's very, very viable, and it's very desirable. But the reality is there are certain laws on the books that he likes and supports that almost make it illegal to make a profit off doing that kind of things. It's just pointless. There's just no point in even beginning.
I just got an email here that's sent into our newsroom here, because obviously this is what they do when they don't like what they hear. Somebody writes in and puts the headline in there, my name, and spells my name CYST. Like, the Liberals are always so tolerant and inclusive, right? So they've turned my name into cyst, which is great. And then it says
That's
that I
pure racism.
and just whine and bitch.
That's anti-Eastern European racism.
Whine and bitch because I've done nothing with my life, and I'm happy making $66,000 a year. And then, and it said in the private sector, his base was $650, and he used to get a bonus, and talks about, well, it's great that he did all that, right? And and then he goes off and says, Pierre Poilievre is, garbage. And that just us right-wingers think he's Messiah. I don't think we ever said he was the Messiah. And a Harvard-educated bean counter is much better than a career politician, yeah. And then, I love the last line, tell him to sell his silly gold necklace. Gold prices are excellent right now. Just this is the tolerance that they want for everybody except for anybody that disagrees with them. It's just absolutely ludicrous. Like, learn.
Very cheeky, isn't it?
The media's job is to hold power accountable. And of course, the liberal bots out there are there to prop up power for some strange reason. I don't know what it is, but it seems odd to me. But anyway.
Yeah. I'll just add quickly as well, on back to Eby for a second. Like, the main takeaway that I got from this rant of his was that he thinks that if this oil pipeline is pushed through, obviously he's panicking, he's worried that is going to happen, but he thinks if it's pushed through, then the First Nations, who have very kindly and generously given him permission to go ahead with what he calls $40 billion worth of projects, like the LNG project. Oh, there's a couple of LNG projects, but he thinks they will withdraw their consent for those projects because of the oil pipeline, that they'll just throw all the toys out of the pram and say, we're not going to play anymore. I find that, again, like we were talking about this the other day, weren't we, about the cowardice of politicians in Canada who won't talk about things like property rights. You're going to be doing that interview today, aren't you? The title issue in Richmond. Now, what is this if not cowardice? What David Eby is just completely accepting as, like, it's as true as the wind and the sun. Like, as sure as there'll be a dawn and a sunset, First Nations, these tiny little bands on the BC coast, can determine Canada's economic policy by themselves. They make that decision. And it's up to us as democratically elected premiers to just try and appease them and get them to give us permission to have an economy. That's just not been engaged with at all, that idea. And it's not just Eby. I mean, Mark Carney hasn't done it either. But this is a question probably for Canadians and British Columbians, isn't it? It's like, who decides what happens to the economy in Canada and in British Columbia? Is it these small bands, many of them that don't even have elections, or if they do, consist of a few people, like maybe a few hundred? Or is it the democratically elected leaders and the parties? Who's in charge? Like, that's a question really to be asked.
We're going to skip a couple things because we're running out of time, because I got a 10:30 interview with Jeff Moyse, the Aboriginal lawyer. I think he worked for the government for 31 years. He's been practicing for 33 years in Aboriginal law, and we're going to talk about that Cowichan decision. But Danielle Smith says she'll give Carney until the Grey Tup to fix those 9 bad laws. She's actually put a date out there now, and we'll see what happens. We're going to play that clip from Danielle Smith, but we've heard what she's had to say before. But the thing on David Eby, like, if he thinks it's a nothing thing, then why is he getting so worked up about it? Do you know what I mean? Because he knows he doesn't have the right to stop it, because it's a federal thing. But the feds have also said that they're never going to impose anything on any of the provinces, so they kind of put themselves in a corner as well, right? So it's and
that is an extraordinarily foolish thing to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
And let's be honest. If you want to revitalize and revolutionize the Canadian economy, but then you say, all right, 13 people have a veto, plus the First Nations, because he also did say First Nations had to be interested as well. So Yeah, I mean, this is the fundamental absurdity of it, really, isn't it? It was elbows up in Canada First for about 5 minutes, and then now we're back. Now it's normal procedure, isn't it? And you've got David Eby ranting furiously and attacking his neighbouring premier.
Litter Sturco, families can't put food on the table or get health care. Young people can't find a job, build a home. Addiction, death, crime, chaos rampant. Our province in crisis. British Columbia deserve better than this than an incompetent NDP government. And she's talking about Eby takes a beating at that hostile developer lunch. And that's where he said he was wrong. He actually got pressured and said, I was wrong on the decriminalization. Yet, it still runs to January. Unbelievable. Somebody was asking about Sam Cooper here. And here you go. We got a little clip here from Sam Cooper. They're saying we should put Sam Cooper on. Yeah, and we'll reach out and see if we can get Sam Cooper on. But here you go. Here's a little bit of Sam Cooper.
Some of my reporting has covered complaints from U.S. government sources that say that they are no longer comfortable sharing sensitive intelligence on international investigations that are relevant to Canada with their Canadian partners because they have encountered known cases where they warned the RCMP that they believed people attending sensitive meetings from the Canadian side were involved in corruption. And yet, as I was told and reported, those meetings proceeded. So this gave the Americans the message that Canada wasn't taking Washington's concerns of corruption within Canada's most sensitive investigative arm seriously. And I've further been told that senior U.S. drug enforcement source investigators are alarmed by what they see as RCMP's casual acceptance of corruption within its ranks. And this speaks directly to the matters we're examining today.
There you go. Actually, I'll reach out and see if I can get Sam Cooper to come on. He's does a lot of stories. He seems to have some pretty good sources out there. Renee Merrifield speaks very highly of Sam Cooper. We're going to move on to our international.
He's a good lad, but he doesn't fill you with happiness and joy and optimism, does he? It's like when you read his stories or listen to him, it's just like it just feels like it's over, man. It's like there's no hope.
Well, I mean, according to the guy that emailed in, it might be the same for us, they say.